but calm and steady, and something about it made her pause before opening it, as if the moment mattered more than she expected. When she turned the handle, she found a young delivery man standing there with a paper bag held carefully in both hands, reins still clinging to his jacket, his posture polite, his expression open, and for a brief second Emily forgot the list of thoughts that usually filled her mind, because his presence felt strangely grounding, his voice warm as he confirmed her name, and though she had accepted countless deliveries before, this one felt different in a way she could not explain, as if the air itself had shifted. She reached for the bag, their fingers brushed lightly, and the contact startled her, not because it was inappropriate, but because it reminded her that she was still capable of feeling something unexpected, and she quickly pulled her hand back, embarrassed by the sudden rush of emotion that came without warning, while the young man, whose name tag read Lucas, noticed her reaction but did not comment, only offering a gentle smile that held no pressure, just kindness, and wished her a good day before stepping back from the door. Emily closed it slowly, leaning against the wall as her heart beat faster than it should have, telling herself she was imagining things, that loneliness could make ordinary moments feel meaningful. Yet as she walked back into the kitchen, she realized she was smiling without meaning to, replaying the calm tone of his voice, the respectful way he stood, the way he looked at her as if she were fully present rather than just another address on a list. And the realization unsettled her because Emily had spent years building a life that was safe and controlled after a painful breakup in her early 30s. A life where surprises were rare and emotions were carefully managed, and now, all because of a simple knock, she felt a crack forming in the quiet shell she had wrapped around herself. She tried to distract herself by unpacking groceries, but her thoughts moved faster than her hands. Drifting to questions she pushed away, questions about why such a brief interaction had stirred something she believed was long settled, and she reminded herself of practical truths, of age differences, of boundaries, of how quickly hope could turn into disappointment. Yet none of those thoughts fully erased the sense that something small but important had just begun. Later that evening, as the sky darkened and the neighborhood grew still, Emily sat by her window with a cup of tea, listening to distant traffic and wondering when her life had become so quiet that a stranger's kindness could echo so loudly in her chest, and she felt both foolish and alive, caught between caution and curiosity, knowing she would likely forget his face in time yet also sensing, deep down, that this moment would not fade easily, because it had reminded her of a version of herself she had not seen in years, a woman capable of surprise, emotion, and connection. And as she turned off the lights and prepared for bed, she realized the most shocking part was not the delivery or the young man at her door, but the way her heart had responded before her mind could stop it, leaving her awake longer than usual, wondering what it meant and whether that quiet knock had opened something she was no longer sure she wanted to keep closed. Over the next few weeks, Emily's days began to move with a new rhythm, because the young delivery man started appearing more often, sometimes with groceries, sometimes with small packages, and though each visit lasted only a minute, those minutes carried a quiet energy that followed her long after the door closed, as Lucas always spoke with an easy calm, asking how her day was going or making a light comment about the weather, never crossing a line, never making her feel uncomfortable, yet always leaving her with the sense that the moment had meaning. Emily noticed how she began arranging her schedule around expected delivery times, not in a careless way but with a subtle awareness that surprised her, and she caught herself standing a little straighter when she heard the knock. Smoothing her hair, reminding herself that this was ordinary and that she was reading too much into simple kindness, but the truth was that their conversations slowly deepened in small, natural steps, with Lucas mentioning he had moved from Ontario, Canada, for work, that he planned to study logistics and business, and that he believed life worked better when people treated each other with patience, while Emily shared safe pieces of her own life, talking about her work as a designer, her love for calm spaces, and her belief that homes should feel like quiet comfort rather than noise. What stayed with her most was how Lucas listened, not rushing her, not checking his phone, but meeting her eyes as if her words mattered, and this simple attention made Emily feel seen in a way she had not felt for a long time, because her past relationship had slowly taught her to stay quiet, to ask less, to expect little, and now, without meaning to, she found herself speaking more freely, laughing softly, and feeling lighter after each exchange, Lucas noticed the change too, though he kept his thoughts to himself, sensing a gentle sadness beneath Emily's calm presence and respecting it, never pushing, never asking questions that felt too personal, yet hoping each time he knocked that she would open the door. Because something about her steady nature made him feel grounded in a city that still felt unfamiliar. One rainy afternoon, when the sky hung low and the streets were quiet, Lucas lingered a second longer than usual, holding the empty delivery cart, and said that Emily seemed like someone who truly understood people, a simple comment that caught her off guard, because it touched something deep inside her. And she answered honestly that she tried, even when it was hard, and as he walked away, she stood watching from the doorway longer than she meant to, aware that the line between comfort and longing was becoming thin. That evening, alone with her thoughts, Emily felt the weight of that realization settle in, because she understood that what she felt was not about fantasy or excitement but about connection, and that scared her more than anything, as she questioned whether it was fair to allow hope to grow in such an uncertain space, reminding herself of the age gap, the difference in life stages, and the risk of misunderstanding kindness as something more. Yet the more she tried to dismiss her feelings, the more present they became, because they were rooted in simple moments, not dreams. Across town, Lucas sat in his small apartment, replaying their conversations, aware of the care he felt and the responsibility that came with it, knowing Emily deserved respect above all else. And he told himself to stay careful, to remain kind without expectation, even as he looked forward to the next time he might hear her voice. And in that quiet balance of restraint and curiosity, both of them moved forward, unaware that this gentle connection, built on small words and shared pauses, was slowly changing the shape of their everyday lives in ways neither could easily undo. Days passed without the familiar knock, and at first Emily barely noticed, telling herself routes changed and people moved on. Yet as the silence stretched, it began to feel heavier than before, filling her quiet home with unanswered thoughts, because she realized how easily those short conversations had become part of her routine, and without them her days felt flat again, as if a small light had been switched off. She tried to focus on work, rearranging spaces for clients, choosing colors and textures, but her mind drifted back to the calm voice and steady presence she had grown used to, and she felt frustrated with herself for missing someone she barely knew, reminding herself that life was not a story and that brief connections often faded without meaning. Yet the absence stayed with her in ways she could not ignore. Emily questioned her own feelings, wondering if loneliness had made her attach meaning where there was none, or if she had simply forgotten what it felt like to connect naturally with another person. And these thoughts brought back memories of her past relationship, the slow emotional distance, the quiet disappointment, and the promise she had made to herself to avoid confusion and pain, which made her even more determined to let this go. Meanwhile, Lucas noticed the distance too, though from a different place, because his work schedule had changed suddenly after he switched jobs, leaving him on new routes with longer hours. And though he told himself it was practical and necessary, he felt a quiet loss in the shift, missing the calm of those brief moments at Emily's door, moments that had made his long days feel lighter. Yet he hesitated to reach out in any way, unsure if doing so would cross a line or create expectations neither of them had spoken aloud. One evening, weeks later, as Emily walked through the downtown area after a late meeting, she slowed near a small cafe, drawn by warm light spilling onto the sidewalk. And there, standing outside with a coffee in hand, was Lucas, dressed casually, looking more relaxed yet slightly uncertain. And when their eyes met, surprise quickly turned into relief, because neither of them had expected this meeting but both felt the weight of it instantly. They exchanged a careful greeting, and after a brief pause that carried more emotion than words, Lucas admitted he had hoped to run into her, explaining his job change and how he had not known how to explain his sudden absence, speaking with honesty rather than excuses. And Emily listened quietly, feeling both comforted and unsettled, because part of her had feared she had imagined the connection, and now his words confirmed that she had not been alone in feeling the shift. She responded with equal honesty, admitting that she had not wanted to misunderstand his kindness or place meaning where it did not belong, explaining how loneliness could make simple moments feel larger. And Lucas met her openness with respect, saying he understood and had felt the same caution, because he never wanted to make her uncomfortable or create confusion, only to be present in a way that felt right. They stood there talking as people passed by, the city moving around them. And in that shared space they spoke about work, life changes, and how easily timing could complicate connection. And though no dramatic words were spoken, the honesty between them felt grounding, because it removed the quiet tension that had built during the weeks apart. As the evening grew cooler, they acknowledged the uncertainty without trying to solve it, understanding that not every feeling needed immediate direction. And when they finally said goodbye, there was no promise of what would come next, only a shared awareness that something meaningful had been recognized, even if not yet defined. Emily walked home with mixed emotions, her heart lighter yet thoughtful, because she knew that seeing Lucas again had reopened questions she had tried to bury, forcing her to confront whether she was willing to risk disappointment for the chance of something real. And Lucas, heading in the opposite direction, felt the same quiet conflict, aware that connection carried responsibility, especially when it involved someone who had clearly built her life with care and intention. That night, both lay awake longer than usual, replaying the conversation not for what was said but for what was felt, realizing that distance had not erased the connection but had clarified it. And though neither knew what the future held, both understood that the choice ahead was no longer about chance meetings or routine moments, but about whether they were brave enough to step forward with honesty instead of retreating into safety, knowing that once a connection is seen clearly, it cannot be unseen, and ignoring it comes with its own kind of cost. After the unexpected meeting near the cafe, Emily did not rush into anything, but she also did not retreat, because something inside her had shifted, pushing her to reflect on the quiet choices she had been making for years. And she realized she had built a life that was safe yet closed, steady yet emotionally distant, and while it had protected her from pain, it had also kept her from growth. So one calm morning she made a small but meaningful decision to stop waiting for clarity to arrive on its own and instead allow honesty to guide her next step. She sent Lucas a simple message, not dramatic or emotional, just an invitation to meet for coffee. And when he replied with warmth and respect, she felt a mix of nervousness and calm, because the choice felt intentional rather than accidental. And when they met, they spoke openly from the start, acknowledging the age difference, the different stages of life, and the uncertainty of where this connection could lead. Yet instead of letting those facts create distance, they allowed them to shape a thoughtful conversation built on understanding rather than fear. Lucas shared his hopes of returning to school and building something stable, while Emily spoke about rebuilding trust in herself after disappointment. And in that exchange they discovered a shared value that mattered more than timing, a desire for sincerity and emotional safety. And this understanding allowed them to move forward slowly, without pressure, choosing walks through quiet neighborhoods, shared meals in simple places, and conversations that flowed easily because neither was trying to impress the other. Emily noticed how she felt lighter, more present, no longer guarding every thought, and Lucas admired her strength and clarity, seeing her not through the lens of age but through the steadiness she brought into his uncertain world. And as weeks passed, their connection deepened naturally, built on consistency rather than intensity. Where silence felt comfortable and laughter came easily, they faced moments of doubt, especially when outside opinions or internal fears surfaced, but instead of avoiding them, they talked through those concerns with patience, understanding that real connection required effort and honesty. And Emily learned that opening her heart did not mean losing control, while Lucas learned that maturity was not measured by years but by the willingness to listen and grow. There were no dramatic gestures or sudden promises, only a shared agreement to respect each other's pace, and in that space, affection grew steadily, grounded in trust rather than fantasy. And Emily found herself embracing parts of life she had quietly given up, from spontaneous plans to the simple joy of being emotionally present, while Lucas gained confidence in his ability to build something meaningful with care. As seasons changed, their bond remained steady, shaped by mutual respect and clear communication. And though neither claimed certainty about the future, they understood that what they had was real, chosen, and worth exploring, because love, they discovered, did not always arrive loudly or follow expected rules, but sometimes appeared gently, asking for courage instead of certainty. And in choosing to step forward together, Emily and Lucas did not find perfection, but they found something far more valuable, a connection rooted in honesty, patience, and the shared decision to grow rather than remain unchanged. And for Emily, the greatest transformation was not falling for a younger man, but realizing that her heart had never truly closed, it had simply been waiting for the right moment to open again, while Lucas learned that meaningful connection often begins when two people meet not by chance alone, but by the willingness to show up fully and choose each other with clarity and respect.